Hello, dear participants of our online lectures project by Young Scientist Council of the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. And today we have lecture of extremely interesting guest, Mrs. Edna Raquel Hogemann, Associated Professor of Federal University of the State of Rio de Janeiro, ex-dean of the Center for Legal and Political Sciences, and give the floor to you, Mrs. Edna.
Thank you. First of all, I have to show all my gratitude for the invitation, and I have to thank the coordinator of this online lectures project by Young Scientists Council, Professor Valentin Zatseplu, for the opportunity, okay? And so today, we will talk just a bit about human rights and public policies. I think you can change the presentation. Put the second slide, please. Yes, let's start. And so we are going to talk about human rights and public policies. First of all, we have to consider what are human rights. I brought to you, and it's important to say all my presentation will be accessible for all of you, okay? Not only today, but if you want, okay? I asked Professor to let it free for all of you, okay? So let's come back to human rights. Human rights are fundamental rights inherent to all human beings. And they are universal, inalienable, and indivisible. And for us, for our generation, they were first established in the key documents such as Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, after the end of the Second Great World War. But they include not only civil and political rights like freedom, equality. No, not so only. They include social, economic, and cultural rights like education and health. And so what I need to have my human rights, I need to be a human being. Rich, poor, yellow, white, black, women, men, no importance. It's enough to be a human being. Please, you can change to the next. And so, for sure, all of you have heard about the definition of human rights. But now I think it's important to talk about public policies. And so what are public policies? Public policies are actions and programs developed by governments. These actions aim to address public problems and social demands. And thus, public policies involve planning, implementation, and evaluation. So, if a government and the technical people think about some public policy, it has to be very well planned. It has to be implemented in a way that achieve the goals they were planned, and how we can appreciate it by evaluating. I brought some examples, and I have to say, Professor, that I will always use examples from my state, from my country, okay? And so we will talk about public healthcare systems, education programs, social assistance initiatives. But I will always use my own examples from Brazil, okay? Just to create an atmosphere of knowledge, just because we are very, very far one to each other. Ukraine, very, very far from Brazil. And so that's why, Professor, I want to show you how public policies and human rights are treated here in my country. Okay, you can change the slide, please. Well, first of all, we consider what are human rights and what are public policies. And now we will talk a bit about the connection between human rights and public policies. Just because it's very, very important to demark that public policies are tools to make human rights reality. Without public policies, it's impossible to implement human rights in practice. Just because they can transform legal guarantees into real life outcomes. That's why they are so, so, so important. Just because we all need public policies to ensure access to education. I am from a federal public university here in Brazil. Access to education is the key of the liberty, of the freedom of a nation. But you can study, but if you don't have health care service, you become ill, and if you don't have money, you can never achieve to have a medicine or a doctor to treat your illness. But by the other hand, we know our societies they all have a lot of historical problems related to gender, poverty. And so public policies have to ensure social protection. Without these policies, rights remains only theoretical, only mine, only in a dream that never comes true. Do you know what I mean? That's why I chose to talk with you about the connection between human rights and public policies and the importance of public policies. Please, you can change to the other. Well, there are a lot of principles guiding rights-based public policies. I brought some to talk about with you. First of all, universality. Just because, as I said before, policies must reach everyone, not only beautiful people, not only men, not only rich people, no, but all the people. But even if these public policies are directed to everyone, if these public policies don't have a feeling of equity, it will be only theoretical. Why? And I can say, as I said before, in my country, we have a lot of inequalities. And so it is very important, Professor, this principle guiding rights-based public policies. It's utopic to think that equity is focused on extinguishing inequalities. No, no, no. We have to be real. Just because I have to say it's almost impossible to extinguish inequality. So that's why I say to you, when we say equity, we are focused on reducing inequalities. But to reduce inequalities, it is very, very important participation. Society must be involved in decision making. It's impossible to think in a public policy for women if women don't participate. Just because it's impossible to think about gender excluding one of those. But accountability, it's much important than participation. Just because who has the money? Government has the money. And they have to be responsible for outcomes. And I will show you why it's so important. I will give you some examples from my country. And at last, but not least, dignity, respect for all individuals. Without respecting human beings' dignity, it's impossible to guarantee that human rights will be a reality in any place in our planet. Please, you can change the slide. Okay. Well, I said a lot of beautiful words to you, but we have to face the reality. And I want to show you the reality of my country. That's because it's where I'm living. And I know that we have a lot of structural and institutional challenges, from norms to practice. Just because you can have good norms, but if they stay only in the paper, human rights never will be respected. And I brought to you some of those institutional barriers that we, society, we, governments, can face. Weak political will and competing priorities. If we don't have a strong political will, nothing happens. Just because governments may prioritize economical or political interests over human rights commitments. And as I say, I will only give Brazilian examples to put our money, the money of the people, governments prioritizing economic questions related to rich people. Human rights never will be respected. And if we have insufficient resources of financial, human, technical, and so on, if there is limited budgets and staff, undermine implementation and monitoring capacity. But fragmented or inadequate legal frameworks can be very, very, very huge institutional barriers to go from norm to practices. But another big problem is the institutional weakness and lack of coordination. Governments they have to have a strong bureaucratic structure to guarantee policy execution. And by other hand, limited enforcement and accountability mechanisms that result in weak monitoring bodies and non-binding international norms reduce compliance. And so there are other problems, other institutional barriers, but I think these ones that are brought to you, they are very, very, very important. But we have more, please. Beyond the institutional barriers, we face many times contextual barriers to effective implementation. And so you have the policy, the public policies connected to human rights, but states may resist external inspection or international obligations. For instance, in my country, we have, our governments signed a lot of treaties related to labor treatment to our workers. But even now, we have, I don't know if you know, we have a lot of workers treated like slaves in my country. At this moment, in any places in Brazil, you can find workers being treated like slaves. Yes. Unfortunately, it's very, very true. But other problems, cultural norms and social resistance. Traditional beliefs and discrimination may conflict with human rights standards. I will give you one example, abortion. In my country, women can make legal abortion. Three possibilities. The woman is ill and the pregnancy can let her die just because of the pregnancy. And so women, in this case, can make the abortion. Or if the woman was raped, can make abortion. Or the fetus has the problem irreversible, that has no perspective in living. So in these three situations, women in my country can make the abortion. They can. It's almost impossible to find a hospital to make the legal abortion. And so, why? Just because traditional beliefs and discriminations, religion questions that put women out of the law. Okay? lack of expertise and awareness among policymakers. It is another crucial problem in my country. Insufficient training restricts the translation of norms into actionable policies. The law guarantees these human rights, but there's no well-trained people to implement this law. It happens a lot in my country. Other great problem in Brazil, inequality and exclusion of vulnerable groups. Women, we are in Brazil a vulnerable group. Every day, every single day in my country, 4 women are killed by their boyfriend, companion, husband. Why? Because they are women. It's sad. It's so sad, but it's the reality in my country. Another contextual barrier, influence of private actors and market forces. I think it's the same all over the world. Corporate interests may undermine human rights-based policies. Yes, unfortunately. Okay, but let's go on. As I told you, I will focus on the experience of my country. Human rights in Brazil, yes, they are fundamental, universal, and inalienable rights. They are recognized in our 1988 Constitution. As you can see, our democracy is very, very young, okay? Till 1984, we are governed by dictators. But we broke this reality and changed the things of living in my country. And this Constitution of 1988 is the most important constitution. We have 7 in all our history, 7 constitutions, but this one is the most important just because it includes health, education, equality, and dignity. So let me show you about it, please. Our public policies since 1988. The first example, our universal health care. We have the Sistema Único de Saúde. We have a universal system of healthcare. And how? It is the only country all over the all states that has a universal health care. If you go to my country as a tourist, And if you are crossing the streets, then a car hits you and you broke your arm or your leg, an ambulance will pick you and take you to a hospital to be treated. And you have to pay nothing, nothing. If you have problem with your eyes, you can see, you go to a hospital, you will be treated, and your glasses will be paid by our universal health care system. Oh, your heart. Oh, my heart's broken. He left. No, no, no. If you have a problem with your heart, you can get another heart. And it's for free. But you have to be on a line waiting for your time, okay? Brazil is the unique, yes, unit state to use this. And our educational system that is for free. Well, oh, please stay. We have another income transfer to reduce poverty. There are a lot of inequality in my country. And our president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, created this income transfer to reduce poverty, Bolsa Família. It is such a kind of money that you receive. I think Bolsa Família nowadays are something like $200 that poor people receive all the time. But to receive, if you have children, they have to be at school. These children has to have all the vaccines. And we have another program that ensures food security for students. Public school gives breakfast and almost dinner, lunch and dinner to the students all around our country. You can change. Yes. Our public policies, they are not perfect, okay? Not perfect, but for sure, they make rights effective in daily life. Sistema Único de Saúde, SUS, guarantees the rights to health. Bolsa Família reduces extreme poverty and inequality. Public universities promote the right to education. And we have a number reserved to Black students. Only Black students can use. Okay, and so the focus of those Brazilian policies are related to vulnerable groups, low-income families, women, Black population. I don't know if you know, my country, Brazil, was the last to extinguish slavery in 1888. It's a tragedy. And we suffer with this kind of thing till now. Black people are not respected in my country. We have an structural racism, okay? And we have also policies related to persons with disabilities. You can change, please. So I prepared these slides to connect the principles of right-based policies with our examples. Universality, our healthcare system guarantees, serves all citizens and no citizens. They can use our healthcare program. Equity, Bolsa Família, this money they receive. In fact, poor people ought to receive this income during a crisis. If they can be an employee, they stop receiving, okay? But if people lose their jobs, they can ask the government to receive the Bolsa Família. But we have also, and here it's a big problem, the participation. Just because we have the law regulating public councils, health, education, gender, but in fact, I have to say, the majority of the population in my country doesn't know that those public councils exist. I have to recognize, it's too sad. Just because we have to use accountability to ensure transparency, but it isn't a reality in my country, I have to say. Even human dignity. In my country, rich people is more important, have more dignity than poor people. Even human dignity being the central value of the Constitution of my country. Do you know what I mean? I have to say it to you just because it is a construction. We have to fight day by day to make law this reality that we want to be. Okay? Another, please. And we have our problems. They assume a huge scenario just because Brazil has a continental size. Our total area is about 8.5 million square kilometers. In the next slide, I will compare Brazil to Ukraine. As you see, Brazil can have a lot of grains. And so, just because we are a very, very large country, our problems are very, very large too, big too, okay? And so you can see, I'm here in Brazil, we are at noon, 12:42 minutes. And I think in Ukraine it is 6 past 43 hours. We have 6 hours of difference, of distance, and our problems appears in a different way. But I won't compare with your problems, mainly related to the need of peace, for sure. But let's continue. I'm almost finishing. The challenges we face in Brazil, social and regional inequalities. See this photo, it's a photo. It's in São Paulo. São Paulo is the biggest city and the richest city of my country. And you can see poor people living in bad conditions in a wall, a huge wall. In the other side, at the other side of the wall, rich people, swimming pools, to play tennis. This is the reality of my country. And these are the challenges we face day by day. Budget constraints, difficulties in implementation and access. Many people doesn't have access to public policies because they don't know that there's public policies exist. And another big, huge problem we have that I think you don't have is the structural racism and gender inequality. I will show you, please. Can change. I brought to you a photo. This woman is holding the card, her card, to receive money from Bolsa Família. These public policies are very, very important. First of all, to strengthen democracy, to reduce poverty and inequality, to promote social inclusion, and to ensure fundamental rights to become reality. I think that you don't know, almost 49.1% of Brazilian households are headed by women. Do you know what happens in Brazil with poor people? They love women, woman loves a man, they be together. But when she became pregnant, The man ran away. Yes, almost 49.1% of Brazilian families are headed by women. That's why it's incredible. That's why Bolsa Família is only for women. Because they have the children, and so they can't work. If they don't receive this money, they will die of hunger. Because men, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is our reality connecting human rights with public policies. I have to thank you for the opportunity, and I brought my message to you. Paz, in Portuguese, means peace. Thank you so much. And I don't know if you open for any questions or observations. I'm here to attend to you.
Yes, thanks you, Mrs. Edna, for your lections. And now we have time for asking questions session. I have first question. Do you think that Brazil path in the supporting of human rights is actual for other countries? And in what aspects Ukrainian experience in such as a revolution of dignity is actual for Brazil?
I think, yes, I really think that we can learn a lot. Brazil with Ukraine experience and Ukraine with Brazilian experience, just because we are living in the same space of exploitation, of indignity, and illusions and dreams. We have to share our dreams. We have to share one with the other our expertise in many ways. That's why, Professor, I was so happy with this opportunity to bring to you some of our reality and for sure the opportunity to listen to you too.
Thanks for your answer. And do other people have any questions? I have the second question that in what degrees we can compare the experience of the supporting human rights between modern United States, European Union, Ukraine, Russia, so on, because in the modern world we can see such events, such processes, fragmentation of society, atomization of society, and in what countries, what positive experience we can have?
First of all, we can't deny our traditions, our cultural and history. It's important to preserve and to respect our each culture, each tradition. But if you take in account that human rights are universal and all of us are made of dignity, difference disappears. That's why we have to think. No problem if you live in Ukraine. No problem if you live in Uganda, if you live in Cairo or Rio de Janeiro. No problem, just because we are all human beings. And if you take in account this important remark, everything is going to be easier. And let me say, no, there's no importance if I don't have a religion, or if you are Muslim, or if you're Christian. No. We have to put all those things apart and always take in account that we are human beings. And my humanity values the same as yours. Do you know what I mean? If you think, you can say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world would be as one. We are not dreamers. No. We need to dream another dream. A dream that we dream together isn't a dream, it's reality.
And in this case, we have to do as Martin Luther King in the United States in 60s years. And in this moment, we can thanks for your extremely interesting and useful lections, for our information about Brazil and the supporting of human rights in this country. And we can end our broadcast and see you again in our issues of the online lectures project, and we hope that we see you in the next time.
Thank you so much. And remember, I am all of you. You can count on me ever. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Edna, for your warm words. And so we can end our lections. See you again.
Hey, bye-bye. Kisses to my students. They are with us. And for you students too. Latin people are very emotional. Bye-bye.
Thank you.